Welcome back to the Monkey Mind Lab. Today, I have the honor of being joined by Ian Baucom, literary scholar, educator, and president of Middlebury College. Professor Baucom's work spans literature, history, political theory, finance, colonialism, and the moral imagination of modernity. Across influential books such as Spectres of the Atlantic, History 4 Degrees Celsius, and The Disasters of War, his scholarship asks profound questions about memory, justice, capitalism, climate, and what it means to live ethically in an interconnected world. What makes his work especially compelling is the way it refuses disciplinary boundaries. It moves between archives and contemporary crises, between aesthetics and politics, between storytelling and systems, showing how the humanities can help us think through some of the most urgent questions of our time. Please join me in welcoming President Ian Baucom.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I'm very honored you agreed to join us. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, it's an absolute thrill. I met you at a Diwali dinner that you hosted in the fall, and you demonstrated there what I think you demonstrate on this podcast, which is that you have the ability to bring tastes and flavors together and create a feast, a feast of the body and a feast of the mind. So it's great to be here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So let's begin. We usually begin by asking our guests 3 questions.
Sure.
What do you do? Why do you do it? And how do you get into it?
What do I do? Well, as you mentioned, I'm the president of Middlebury. When I have time, I continue to also try to think about higher education, not only from an administrative perspective, which is primarily what I do, but to read, to write when I can. So that's who I am. I'm a former academic who is now primarily a bureaucratic drudge. But that's who I do.
But making waves at Middlebury nonetheless.
Thanks. Why do I do it? My parents were educators. I grew up in South Africa during the apartheid years, and my mom and dad ran adult literacy programs for mine workers. Okay. And I saw from their work, I love them, they were my parents, but I saw from their work that education could play a transformative role, not only in the lives of individual people, but in a broader social worlds, and could be part of the experiment, the unending experiment of democracy. So that's why I do it. How did I get into it? I got into being a professor because I had a professor when I was a junior in college. His name was Dylan Johnston. I was a student at Wake Forest, and I was in a study abroad program in London, majoring in political science. What I really loved was literature. Okay. And Dylan modeled for me that you could dedicate your life to the thing that you were most passionate about. Wow. And he pushed me hard. I got a C on the first paper I wrote for him. But he cared about me. He cared about the other students. And I really attribute the decision to pursue a life in higher education. I think education came from my parents. Yes. Higher education, I think, came from Professor Johnston, who is a friend and mentor and beloved professor.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing if you can have that one professor in college who can change your life or make you think about it in a different way. I have a couple of them here, actually, which is what led to the creation of the Monkey Mind Lab. Okay. But that's how you know that your college career has been a success, if you can have that one professor who inspires you.
Absolutely. And it's one of the main reasons I came to Middlebury. I wanted to be at a place. I've been lucky. I've been at wonderful institutions. I was at Virginia, I was at Duke, I was at Yale. Those are remarkable places. Yes. I wanted to be somewhere where the relationship, where it was clear what the purpose of the place was, and the purpose was undergraduate education. And I kept meeting Middlebury alum after Middlebury alum after Middlebury alum who'd had that professor. And I thought, wow, I can be part of that again at the end of my career. Yeah.
And I think that's the hallmark of Middlebury. Yeah. We inspire the future.
Yeah, we inspire the future, and that bond between our students and our faculty is so strong. So yeah, that's why
Absolutely.
I'm here. Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect segue into our big question today. So shall we dive into it?
That's good.
All right. So what does it mean to be educated in today's world?
That is a great question, and one that I think about both all the time, and sometimes because I think about it all the time, I get tired sometimes of thinking about it. But I thought about it. I thought about it for this podcast today, and I want to give 3 frames. Okay. And one of them is an invitation. I'll start with it, but it's an invitation to you, Abir, to think. To be educated today, first proposition is to think like a podcaster.
Okay.
I'm going to come back to that. Okay. What does it mean to think like a podcaster? All right. So that's one.
Yeah.
A lot of what all of higher education, all of our society is thinking about in this moment is what does it mean to be educated? What does it mean to work? What does it mean to pursue our social lives together? What does it mean to pursue the work of continuing to build democratic cultures together in a moment of artificial intelligence?
Yes.
We probably think about it not enough and too much somehow at the same time, right? It's one of those things. It's in the air. It's in every conversation. It sort of urgently needs to be, and there is more than AI. But I want to start there.
Yes.
To be educated today, I think, means really understanding the affordances, the possibilities of artificial intelligence, what it can enable, what the technology can enable. The founder of Anthropic, Ian Baucom, has talked about what it might mean to be living in a moment in which through various forms of artificial technology, everyone has access to what he calls a nation of geniuses.
Yes.
Right, to help you. So how can we think with?
Yeah.
Equally importantly is to understand what distinguishes human intelligence from artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in opposition, but what's distinctive. What is liberal arts learning that the machine and its capacity for learning cannot do?
Yes.
What are those forms of human intelligence? Creative intelligence, civic intelligence, skeptical intelligence, critical intelligence, historical intelligence, global intelligence. And I think if that's the frame, there's the podcaster frame, there's the AI frame, and I'll give one more. But if it's the AI frame, what are those forms of human intelligence? And that's the question that animates the liberal arts.
Yeah.
And so in a moment of AI, I feel profoundly optimistic about the future of liberal arts education. That is what it cultivates in us.
Interesting, because a lot of professors would be very skeptical. In fact, that's something we'll come to later in the episode. But I'll let you continue.
And again, it's the relationship, right?
Yes.
It is not. It is the relationship between the two and understanding their differences and their complementarities.
Yes.
But I feel very optimistic for the future of liberal arts education. So the third is there's a famous essay published by Isaiah Berlin, who was born in Russia, emigrated to the United Kingdom, very important political philosopher. And there's an essay called The Hedgehog and the Fox.
Okay.
It's published, I believe, in 1952. And the idea of the hedgehog and the fox is it begins with this quote. The fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. And he used that to say there are two kinds of thinkers in the world, broadly speaking.
Yeah.
There are the foxes. The foxes know many things. They are comfortable with complexity, with nuance. They will chase an idea. They're endlessly curious. Not everything adds up.
Yeah.
But they roam around the forests of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the hedgehog. And the hedgehog has a grand idea, a big idea. And everything is drawn together by the big idea. Hegel was a hedgehog. Shakespeare was a fox.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to be educated today? Should we be educating hedgehogs or foxes? Should we educate for people who can have a unifying idea that can draw everything together? Or should we educate for a capacity for boundless curiosity and complexity and not everything adds up, but you're going to keep following it? Now, it's a false question in some ways because the world needs both hedgehogs and foxes.
Yes.
I think we need more foxes.
Okay.
Not only foxes.
Yes.
Not only foxes. I think what liberal arts education enables is that moving and roaming around, the realizing that there is just always one more thing to know, one more thing to understand, something that will surprise you. I think as we think about the movement from liberal arts education to the worlds of work that students will pursue in their time after being at Middlebury, employers, we educate for more than employment, but employment matters. Mm-hmm. Employers increasingly, the technology can be their hedgehog.
Yeah.
They need that They need that capacity. But Berlin understands that it's somewhat of a false distinction, but it's a way of frame. But then I'm going to turn this back to you. You produce a podcast.
Yes.
I think we, among other things, we should educate curators and doctors and lawyers and public servants and teachers. But I'd ask you to reflect a little bit on what do you need to be a good podcaster? How do you need to be educated? How do you need to think?
So in attempt to answer that question, I'm going to try answering my own question.
Yeah.
According to me, you can have as many degrees as you want, and you can be studied with PhDs and masters and bachelors and great. You can have all those accomplishments. But you could be literate and not educated.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a dimension you could add to that of being well-read. I think you have to bring all three of those together. So while paper degrees might matter on an official level, it's not just that. I think it's about developing curiosity, perspective, and the ability to make connections between things. I think that's something that being an international student, being at Middlebury, some of the programs I've been through, like the Roten Global Scholars, it is truly to think not on an international scale, but on a global scale, something that connects all humankind beyond borders, beyond disciplines, beyond all these constructs that we kind of create. Because I'm going to try making my own analogy to the fox and the hedgehog. Is the confluence of that is the monkey. And that's what we try to do here is you want to... The monkey is driven by the goal of trying to combine knowledge and connect disciplines. But at the same time, explore the forest, swing from branch to branch, see all these different possibilities, and then bring them back and unify them and see, what can I do with all these things? Can I build a fire? Can I do something with it? And that's how we go from being monkeys to being humans. Is when you put all these things together. And at some level, I feel like while the metaphor of the monkey mind has always been to be curious and to explore all these things, I think it is a process of growing into what it means to be human. Into getting that education from not only a college environment. Earlier this month, we launched the Monkey Mind Book Club.
I saw that, yes.
And it's about conversations, it's about reading together, it's about community and learning together. Whether that be a college classroom or a book club or just a conversation like you and I are having right now. I think that's where education really takes place. And that's what it means to be educated. Is to build that perspective by countering your own and through conversations, through shared spaces that don't necessarily need to have a stamp of officialness.
That's great. That's fantastic. So I don't think we can solve this. There's the hedgehog, there's the fox, there's the monkey. But an invitation to our listeners is, what does it mean to think like a panther?
Oh, okay.
What's a panther? Since we're panthers,
yes.
What's a panther mind? And so there's a famous poem by Rilke called "The Panther," and it's quite a tragic poem. So this is not how I think we panthers should think. But it's a poem that reflects actually on a panther in captivity. A panther who has been caught and is in a cage, and the panther is pacing back and forth, and there's sadness in it because the panther is caged. At the same time, there's this fascination in the poem with you can tell the dynamic power of the panther. You can see that there's something there that is vast and waiting to be unleashed. That's the version of the panther that I like to think about. If you think about a panther in the forest, I think a panther's a bit of a fox and a bit of a hedgehog and maybe a bit of a monkey, right? Powerful, capable of coming to something that you would say, that's remarkable. Roaming around, following the scent. So anyone out there, you can tell us if this is just off, but since we're panthers, I want to think like a panther.
That's a wonderful analogy. To wield that, not just to, like you said, the innate power of the panther is not just, okay, I'm going to go explore, but in a way that might come off unsure, but to own it and to really be present. That's interesting. So that makes me think about, since we're on the topic of panthers, and Middlebury's mascot, we are panthers. So we spoke earlier about AI and the liberal arts. a lot of my professors that I've spoken to go back and forth on it.
Yes.
Some are very pro AI and think it's a tool that can be used for benefits, as with anything in moderation.
Yeah.
If you use it to completely replace human intelligence, we're pretty much doomed. But if you use it to complement it and to fill up gaps, we could reach the moon and beyond. Where do you see the liberal arts and a college environment, whether it's the liberal arts or a university, research university or anything, where do you see it in this new world of AI, in this educational landscape where ChatGPT is probably getting more degrees than graduating seniors every year?
Yeah. As I say, I'm optimistic, but let me begin with the things that are important. In addition to I'm optimistic about the liberal arts in this moment. There are very important questions to be raised about artificial intelligence, its energy costs, its impact on the environment, the capacity for AI usage where there's a capacity to substitute a predictive outcome for the best human outcome. So if you think the relationship, say, between the practice of law, artificial intelligence, its capacity to very quickly read cases, produce documents, but you still need the counselor, you need the judge, you need the jury, right? If you think about those three roles, right?
Yes.
And so in the liberal arts, we are educating the counselor and the judge and the jury. Now, the counselor and the judge and the jury might be able to spend more time deliberating, more time thinking about justice. They might be able to get there faster and quicker. They might be able to say, well, not only was there this argument that was presented by, opposing counsel, but there are a range of histories of cases and determinations that have been made to inform our decision. And artificial intelligence can help us get there more quickly. But you still need that moment of human judgment. So thinking very seriously about the responsible and ethical use of AI, I think is crucial. Making sure that we are facilitating an educational environment that is encouraging and inviting students to think and not have their thought outsourced. Is crucially important. So those are real issues, and we as a college, our students, our staff, our faculty will wrestle with them. The reason I'm optimistic, I had a conversation with a colleague at MIT a couple of weeks ago. I was in Boston, and they were saying, in all seriousness, that they think that the challenge that AI is posing is greater to a place like MIT than to Middlebury. And the argument essentially was along these lines. Until the very recent past, there had been forms of computer science knowing, engineering knowing, that you needed both a PhD and a postdoc.
Yes.
Simply to be able to even begin to answer a question or provide a solution. You had to go through that process first. Claude can now do that for you in 30 minutes.
Not yet.
Not yet, but but that's what he was saying. So what is it? What is our right? What is it that makes an MIT education distinctive? And his suggestion was, it is that question formation, problem formation, considerations of ethical judgment, the capacity to create.
Yes.
That's a little bit what was in my head as a podcaster. I know that there are applications that would allow artificial intelligence to produce a podcast. I know that can happen.
Yes.
But podcasts are not only what happens in a room in a conversation between two or more people. It is the audience it creates. Right? It's the civic world it creates. It's the decision to do that. There's meaning and purpose in creating a podcast beyond the conversation. Right? The conversation is to help create a community of some sort. It's to create a community where people debate and argue and disagree. You have to come to the Monkey Mind Lab, as you say, through the experience of being an international student, really understanding, what does the world look like from India? What does it look like from Sao Paulo, from Chile, from Antigua, from New York? And to have lived that and experienced that. That's a little bit of the podcast piece. And that is what we do. Yeah. That is what we revel in. Liberal arts knowledge, when it's knowledge, and it's learning, and it's education, and it's reflection, and it's judgment, and it's agreement, and it's disagreement, and it's the new, is irreplaceable. And I'm very optimistic.
That's wonderful and very reassuring to know. Because my follow-up question was going to be, so it's a two-part question.
Yeah.
You kind of answered it, but the world today, and I think we both can agree on this, needs more creative thinkers.
Yes.
We recently did an episode on, is creativity the renewable resource of the future?
Beautiful question.
And it was wonderful because we came about even going going and critiquing what is the definition of creativity that we use.
Yeah.
And it tends to get biased towards like, oh, you need artists and thespians and
Yes.
and playwriters and all sorts of things. And yes, we need those, but anybody in every field can think critically. And there's this push towards anything that's left-brained tends to be something that creativity is not really encouraged. You stick to the script on certain things, whether it's coding. There's one right way of doing it.
Yeah.
The liberal arts, at least my learning experience has been there are multiple ways of approaching it.
Yes.
I'll give you this semester as an example. I'm in 2 psychology courses, a modern Hinduism course, and calculus. Seemingly very apart, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the semester, if I reflect, there is so much in common.
Yes.
When I look at Hinduism, let's start with that. It's all about, it's a religion that it acknowledges the black and the white, that there's a right and a wrong.
Yeah.
But there's a large gray area in the middle.
Yes. Yes.
And it pretty much lives in that gray area.
Yeah.
Now, what would you think that has to do with calculus?
Yeah.
Simple thing. I was solving an integration sum.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not getting it this way.
Yeah.
The class was doing it one way. So, okay, I'm going to try something. Different way of doing it, same answer. There are many ways to approach. It's context specific.
Yeah.
And there's no one right way. There's this gray area of as long as you can get to the same point, just like with religion, just like with psychology.
Yeah.
There's many theories to explain the same thing, and it's not just one. I think that's what you cannot get from AI.
Yes.
And I think so my question is going to be, if we have AI and if we have all of these techniques, and say even if we have podcasts like this, do we really need a $400,000 college and these expensive degrees when you could possibly get similar environments and similar conversations online?
Yeah.
But I guess we answered that is, it's not just about the knowledge that you can get from reading a textbook or from other things. It's the experiential learning. It's about that global aspect of being on the ground, of having these conversations with people.
Yeah.
And I love your thoughts on that, though I think we kind of answered it.
Yeah.
Second part to it is, we did an episode in season 1, which was, is oratory the liberal art that'll save the liberal arts? And that I think is even more relevant now than when we shot it, because AI is something that is rendering exams useless.
Yeah.
Anybody and anything can write, and you have no way of checking. I mean, unless it's you scrutinize and have it done in person and proctored, and even then you don't know how much the students are learning.
Yeah.
And what we argued was, if you use speech, it might just be the future, because even if AI prepares a script for you, you still have to learn it. You have to be able to answer questions. You still require that human intelligence. My friends will jokingly, because I'm a peer writing tutor on campus, they'll come to me saying, can you help me with my paper? I want some feedback. I turn to them sometimes and it's like 2 a.m. and they come knock on my door and I'm like, why don't you just ask AI? Why are you coming to me? Like, no, we want to ask AI, but a peer intelligence.
A peer intelligence. There you go. There you go. I like that.
I can ask Claude, but I'm not going to get something from it.
Yes.
Or I can ask ChatGPT, but you'll bring a unique perspective that might be a little less mechanical.
Yeah.
I think AI is learning to be more human.
Yeah.
But it's not, I don't think it can ever replace human knowledge and human intelligence. So it's a broad question, but
yes. And I'll pause there for a moment, because it is helpful to remember that knowledge and intelligence are not the same thing.
Absolutely.
Right. Intelligence is fed by and nourished by knowledge.
Yeah.
And there are many avenues toward knowledge, and there's knowledge that comes from, watching a play, reading a poem, producing a proof. So there's knowledge, and then the intelligence is the sum effect of the knowledge that you accumulate. And we do have these different forms of intelligence. Yes. They're multiple. I would include environmental intelligence.
Yeah.
Right? The intelligence that comes from our care for the environment, our care for nature, our care for the beauty of our world, our care for the future of the planet. That's a form of intelligence.
Yeah.
There's democratic intelligence. We need to know the law. We need to know different systems of law. We need to know histories of protest and activism and struggle. We need to know what policies are that are proposed by various parties. But the demos, the people together, possess a form of collective intelligence that is not replaceable. There is no substitute for the democratic intelligence of the people.
Yeah.
The story you tell about a semester where 4 different courses and then things begin to cohere. That I had a couple of those in college, and those are just. It doesn't happen every semester,
yes.
But when it happens, right? When it happens, then
the harmonic convergence.
It's just you feel it, and what I would say is, part of what is converging, that is the mind's intelligence operating on a multiplicity, right, of phenomena, and saying, I see a pattern.
Yes.
I see a connection. I'm not going to turn everything into this fox and hedgehog bit. But
Yes.
the 4 courses, you're being foxy.
Yeah.
The synthesis is that moment of bringing some things together. The 4 years of college should collectively be that as well, right? Courses in biology, courses in statistics, courses in economics, courses in the history, performance, Black studies, gender studies, and history and philosophy. At the end, we should be left with that continuous, for the rest of my life, curiosity, but some coherence around collectively, this will help shape a purpose for my life.
Yeah.
Right? I have a purpose. My purpose allows me to still be curious about many things.
Yeah.
But something is drawing it together. Something is unifying it. Something is saying this is a good life worth living. Colleges are not the only place where that happens. There are other institutions where that happens. Yeah. But that's the promise that we give. And is that worth it? Yes. It's irreplaceable. Some people return to college later in life, and that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
For most people, it happens in those glorious years between 17 and 21 or 18 and 22. Those years cannot be lived again.
Yeah.
Those years of learning also to live together, learning to live in a dormitory with people from all over the world and backgrounds.
Sharing bathrooms.
All of those things. Right? And because, to return to the important administrative parts of my life, our life, but, because we have this deep commitment to make Middlebury affordable to low and middle income families, to know that, right now, Middlebury is tuition free to families who make $125,000 or less. We've set a goal in our strategic plan for that to be $150,000 or less as soon as we can. Yeah. Just a very simple pledge.
Come
at this income level, will be tuition free.
Yeah.
Right? Tuition free. There's still, there are costs obviously beyond tuition, but this can happen. So yeah.
And it's I think that's the true liberal arts is come one and all.
Yeah.
Get an education.
Yeah. And do it together.
Do it together.
And it's also the do it together part. Yeah. One of our faculty members, Gina Thomas, in psychology, works on solitude. It's amazing work that she does. And I had some time with her recently just talking about her research. And there are different forms of solitude. There's solitude that is loneliness, solitude where we wish to be with another or with others and we're not. There's also healthy solitude. There's the solitude of nature. There's the solitude of music. There's the solitude of the long walk. Again, a college should be a little bit of both, right? You should be able to have those moments of solitude, but then to be able to reflect on that solitude with other people and to experience it. And there should be the revelry and noise and the dining hall and the late night debates and the people knocking on your door and all of those things. All of those things that GPT can't come close to giving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's also about learning to work with other people, but to work with yourself, and it's okay to be by yourself. It's about comfort with others and comfort within.
Yes.
That I feel like in today's day and age, teenagers and high schoolers coming in don't really have that because they're high strung, and the stressors of today's day and age are just different from what they were.
Yeah.
That brings me to a tangent of the question is, can education change society? Can it make a difference?
Yeah.
Because what tends to happen, you can have people who are well educated, but then aren't in positions of leadership.
Yeah.
How does one use their education to make that difference?
Yeah.
And what do you think has to change?
Yeah. Yes, I do. One of the people I admire greatly is a philosopher named Anthony Appiah, who is a Ghanaian British philosopher who's been in the U.S. for a long time. And he writes about, among other things, cosmopolitanism and the importance of a cosmopolitan education, and thinks then within that about things he calls rooted cosmopolitanism. So a cosmopolitanism, a knowledge of the world, a kind of a comfort with the world, a curiosity about the world, that also begins, we all have some place where we begin, right? All of us begin somewhere. And it is good to know your cosmopolitanism is stronger if you know where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. So that balance between, a student in India should deeply understand Indian history,
Yes.
And the history of the broader subcontinent, and then the worlds around the subcontinent, and then, the histories of empire, from which, in relationship to which the subcontinent and its histories emerged. And then you need to know beyond. Do I think education can change society? It better. Otherwise, I've made a huge mistake with my life.
Otherwise, what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? One aspect of that is to think of knowledge, learning, education as a public good and not a private good. And I believe that. We are at a private institution, but we've been very deliberate, and this is something, again, that is in the language of this plan we just produced. We are a public-minded private institution.
Yes.
And we are for our town. We're for our state. We're for our globe. We're for our planet. And that also means that we need to be for the proposition that the knowledge and the learning and the study that happens at a place like Middlebury should be publicly available in at least two senses: to the public around us, of whom we are part. Come to dance, come to theater, come to music, come to athletic performances, listen to these podcasts, participate in the debates on campus, open, right? And we should make it, just at the very basic level, access by being affordable, public in that way. And
if you think part of it should be mandatory to have, I know we have distribution requirements, but do you think it should be, some students maneuver it around to get, two of them from one course or something and get away with it and don't really get that exposure. But do you think the future of higher education would involve a mandated global component beyond just taking courses, but go see the world, go do something on the ground?
Got it. So here's a very important thing, and it relates to how I think about presidential power.
Okay.
All right. That is for the faculty to decide.
Okay. Very diplomatic.
Diplomatic, but real. Real, right?
Yeah.
The president is the chief administrative officer, and I am a scholar. I am a professor, so I care about these things. But for the college to retain its academic vibrancy grounded in academic freedom, we believe fundamentally the faculty build. So the faculty are in the process right now of thinking about the future of our general education requirements in a comprehensive way for the first time in decades.
Yeah.
And so it's a very live conversation. So I invite you, when you return to the podcast in the fall, there's a group of faculty called the Liberal Arts Foundation Group, LAF. And they have been spending all year thinking about what is the purpose of the liberal arts, what is its history, what are its futures, and how should that inform the faculty as they think about the future of the curriculum of study at Middlebury.
So I think that's given us a lot to think about, and a lot of people, I think, will come away from this conversation with new perspectives. I love the analogy of the fox and the hedgehog.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's going to stick with me for a while. If there was one thing that you would like to say to our viewers, what would you impart to them?
There's this great line in a novel by Salman Rushdie, and he asks a question. I've spoken about this at some before, but the narrator asks a question: how does newness enter the world? Of what fusions, translations, conjoinings is it made? And I love that question because it seems like it's two questions. How does newness enter the world? Of what fusions, translations, conjoinings is it made? But the second question is actually an answer to the first one. How do things become new? You fuse, you join, you translate. So you have to begin with many things that are particular and specific. Histories, cultures, languages, structures of scientific knowledge. And you bring them together, and they fuse, and they hybridize, and they join, and they translate, and something new happens. That's what I think a college is. If you think about what happens when students move into a dormitory on the first day, we are fusing and joining, and translation will happen. And the new comes from those histories. So the new and the historical are not opposed. Yeah. It's the blending of them. It's the merging of them. And come to college. That's what happens.
And that's the future of education, is to evolve, to fold, and to meld together and create new.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Beer.
Before we end today's episode, I would like to take a minute to celebrate the year of the Monkey Mind Lab. Over the last 2 seasons, we've interviewed guests from all over the spectrum of education, from religion to capitalism and love, from sociology to psychology, colonialism, modern history. We've delved into a lot of topics. And I wanted to thank you, our listeners, for fueling the curiosity that is the Monkey Mind Lab. There are a few people that I would like to thank, without whom which this podcast would not be possible. Johnny Melly, our head of studio, and I would also like to thank Margaret Dufour for encouraging me to start this and helping me find my footing in the podcasting world. That said, thank you so much for monkeying around with us. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Monkey Mind Lab.